See if we can get anything going live here. Am I alive? Do I live? Hello. So I think I'm alive. Hey everybody, somebody tell me if I'm alive. I'm loud and clear. Outstanding. That's all I want to hear. Everybody, it's your favorite nerd in the whole entire universe, Mike Meyers, coming to you with the Wednesday edition of the Mike Meyers Total Seminars YouTube live stream Ask Mike Anything. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us who are isolated by the coronavirus an opportunity to continue our studies on CompTIA certifications, although we can certainly go outside of the world of CompTIA as well. So here's how it works. Basically, you ask me questions by typing them into the live chat window, and then I answer them. And I've got plenty of help here. Dave Rush, Scott Jernigan, cast of thousands around here, also ready to help out. And so type in questions and I ask them. So we start here at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we go till 4 o'clock Central Standard Time. That's 2 hours, or until the questions run out. So a lot of times we end up being less than 2 hours. It's really completely up to you guys. I want to be here so that I can answer the questions that you have, so that you can get A+, Net+, Security+, and others certifications. All right, so number one, just go ahead and type your questions here in the live chat. Secondarily, you could be a shy type person, nothing wrong with that. And if you're a shy type person, just email me. Send me an email to michaelm@totalsem.com and just write out your question there. We can answer it that way. If you're a gamer, I am Senor Pepe. I've been Senor Pepe a long time. And when in doubt, if you want to look me up on the internet, just look up Desweds, D-E-S-W-E-D-S. I think I've purged all the questionable stuff out of that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So that's basically how this plan works here today. We do have one topic to cover today. We're going to cover MBR versus GPT drives and the old-fashioned partitioning versus the way we do it today. That won't take very long, though. Just cover that a little bit. And then we're open for questions. I did not think to review any questions I might have had today. I'm getting a few, it's just not really good for answering questions. We'll work on it though. All right, so that's about it we got for the day. So let's go ahead and get started. See if we got some new folks in here. I see Veselin Litov at 2 o'clock p.m. Looking good, Mike. Thanks. This is my Tesco hat. I meant to buy one of these. I love gimme caps, and so Tesco's like a little store in the UK. It also seems that Tesco is some kind of hunting thing here in the United States. So I got my Tesco hat, so I can feel very, very official. All right, questions. Dave Rush at 2 o'clock. You sound like the buttery soft and... Okay, thank you, Dave. Victor at 1:59. Hello, Victor. I'm looking for new faces. All you old faces, hey, everybody, good to see y'all. But I'm looking for new blood, as it were. Jane Slayer, did you get snow? Wacky weather. We got some icing. You know, it gets a little bit of snow. For southern Texas, for us to get anything, I just call it white grass because, you know, we don't know what to do with it. It dropped down to 14 degrees, but other than losing a couple of tropical plants, I came out scot-free, so we're in good shape. Although I'm definitely buying me an electrical generator because I'm not going to go through waiting for power again. In this entire townhouse, I have this big professional cooktop. I love to cook. Who'd have thunk it? And I just turned on 2 of the burners, and that was sufficient to keep the entire house bearable. Just 2 burners on a stove. How crazy is that? These are pretty big burners, but still. No. Not having electricity was inconvenient. Not having heat was a little scary, but we're okay. And we were actually able to help some folks around the area and be able to take in a couple of people who did not have alternatives. So we did all right. Carla Rain. Hello, Carla Rain. Wayne's World. Excellent. 2:02 p.m. Hi, Mr. Myers. Thank you for being here in LP. No problem. Glad to be here. Edward is here. Timothy Lynch Jr., how do you film your videos? How do I film them? We have a studio. Total Seminars has a lovely studio here in Houston, Texas. And so most of my videos are staged in our sound stage. We have lots of like point down cameras and cameras that intercept screen grabs and all that kind of stuff. It's actually quite nice. This, what you're seeing right here, is a inexpensive webcam with a USB interface, and what you're looking at is my front room of my house. Never really had a name for this room, but yeah, the front room. Oh, do you do it in order of your book? Generally, I do shoot videos that I like to have them follow along in my books. My motivation for that is simple, and that is I feel the three things people need to pass about any certification is you need a book, you need a video, and you need practice questions. And if I can tie those together, I think it helps people's learning process. So yes, do I do them in perfect order? Not necessarily. There's no reason for me to do them in order other than I like to try to keep some storyline going. But no, I'll do them out of order sometimes. We'll line them up in order when we present them to you guys. 202, logic has rebug. Okay. Hi, question. Hello, logic has rebug. I want to get into ethical hacking. What certifications should I get or learn first before I go for my CEH? Well, logic has rebug. Logic has rebug. What are the 4 steps for a DHCP process? See, the problem I have, I don't know what you know. That's always the great challenge in terms of certifications. Like you're some big whiz-bag genius, and you've been playing red team for years. You probably don't need any certifications. You have enough job experience to easily get yourself into place there. Honestly, if I were going to be, just assume you have some basic skills, probably do Security Plus first. If you don't have basic technical skills, you definitely would have to look at Network Plus. For most people who are not interested in systems, but they're interested in network security, CompTIA Network Plus, Security Plus, and then go whatever direction you want from there. But that should be the answer. Deepak Bun. Hey, Deepak. Good to see you again. Okay, 206. Chazarad. Sorry, man, I'm mauling up people's. Hey, Mike, I passed the 1001. Great. Couldn't have done it. Okay, but you haven't taken the 1002. Get them both knocked out. Congratulations on being halfway there. 2:06 p.m. Andrew Parrish. Hey, Mike, my friend asked me to listen to a song with the same name as the acronym of Wireless Access Protocol. With the same WAP. No, Andrew, I don't know what you're talking about. And you scare me a little bit when you break this stuff. I don't want to figure it out. My mind's imagination goes crazy with WAP, and I'm sure one of the things I'm thinking is probably right. So send me a link if you want to. I'll listen to anything. Andrew Parrish again. Oh, we got that one. No. Richard Bro at 207. I'm looking for some study advice. Okay. It seems that books and videos go all over the place with the objectives, or should I just study the objectives in that order? All right. You should never study the objectives. The objectives are not a study path. The objectives are just how different certifying bodies like to organize what they want to teach people. Anybody who writes training materials or does videos or anything based on the objective list, let's just go with CompTIA because it's not just CompTIA who does it. for somebody to write training materials based just on the objective trees, I mean, they're not instructors. They're not instructors, because a good instructor works really, really hard to look at the breadth of topicality on whatever the certification might be, and to build one point to the next as much as possible, which is easy to do for things like the A Plus and the Net Plus book. Pretty hard to do in Security Plus. The reason it's hard to do in Security Plus is because Security Plus is basically about 13 major topics. The CompTIA Security Plus is, in my opinion, nothing more than a survey of IT security, and it does a good job. It's well respected. But anybody who ever uses the objectives as provided by the certifying body as a training method is just, let's just say we have a very large philosophical difference. I have never ever generated any training materials myself based on objectives. I'm not to say there are times when you can actually follow an objective along a little bit, but yeah, I get pretty frustrated about that, as you can tell. Yeah, I would never use objectives. You want to cover all the objectives, or 99% of them. Yeah, I need coffee bad. I'm a little saggy today. Logic has rebug. I'm very new. That's what, hey, well, Logic has rebug. That's what you're here for, man. Welcome aboard. Patricia Grace, coffee time. Yeah, I know. I didn't bring any coffee, Patricia. I'm messing up bad. Nawid Haidari. Hey, Mike. Hey, Nawid. Someone called me from India that I was looking for CompTIA Network Plus in LinkedIn. He asked if I wanted my certificate in Net Plus, that they will take the exam instead of me. No, they've had people ripping each other off like that for years. It's nothing new. It's if let's just say you got someone to take all of your certification exams, you remember, the only thing a certification does is gets your foot in the door. It puts your name at the top of a stack of other resumes. So the moment you go in for a technical interview or something like that, they're going to instantly know you don't know anything, and you'll make a fool out of yourself. So, yeah, that would be a silly thing to do. Hey, Dennis Belazarov. Hi, Mike. Why Total Sub website has no delivery to the Ukraine? I don't know. And I apologize, Dennis. It can be challenging, I understand. But it's been, certain places in Eastern Europe are pretty hard for us to get to. I guess Ukraine is a problem. I didn't know the Ukraine was a problem. We were having a lot of trouble with Poland, to getting stuff shipped out to Poland. But yeah, I'm very sorry. Dennis, send me an email. Tell me what's going on here, will you? Here. Dennis, send me an email and tell me what's going on. I'm not saying that I can change anything, but perhaps we can help. Michael M. at TotalSem.com. Cool. All right, what else we got up here? Justin at 2:11 p.m. Does Server Plus serve any purpose? I have my A Plus and my Network Plus thanks to writing materials I used. Thanks for it. You're welcome. And I've been assured the next certification would have been Server Plus. Justin, again, I don't know what you want to do. There is no one rule set that says you will take these certificates in this order. Generally, for most people, at a starting level, when people are just getting into IT, we look at things like iNet Plus, CompTIA A Plus, Network Plus, and then maybe Security Plus. But from there, there's hundreds, many hundreds of different IT security. So from there, maybe you want to get into Cisco for routers, and then maybe you want to get into Microsoft for Windows, or maybe you want to get into LPI for Linux, or maybe you want to get into Certified Wireless Networking Professional for wireless, or maybe you want to go into Amazon certifications for the cloud. I don't know. What do you want to do? Give me some clues. There is no one rule that says you will follow these certificates. There isn't. People can do whatever they want. Oh, Dave Rush says the Server Plus has been retired. Well, I'll go with Jeff. I'll go with Dave Rush then. Veselin Litov, 213. Hey, Mike, I have purchased the Total Tester CompTIA A+ practice test, but I can't seem to find them anywhere. I did receive a second email after paying, but I still can't find the tests in there. Veselin, it's an online product. In the email, it gives you a URL to go to. It's like hub.totalsem.com or something. I don't remember what it is exactly. And you use your email address as your username, and it should have handed you a password. So you shouldn't be looking for the questions in an email. You should be reading the email to look for the link to find out where the questions are so you can go do them. Axe. Hey, Axe. Oh, here's Scott saying, even our publisher can't get books to the air crane. Yeah, sorry about that, Dennis. Looking for questions. There's still Miss Poet. There's a name. Miss Poet, hello, Mike. I sent you an email with my questions, none related to today's topic. That doesn't matter, Miss Poet. We can still, it doesn't matter. If I have a topic like today, like MBR versus GPT, oh, I'm going to look up your question. See, the problem is I only know you as Miss Poet. But I don't see any Miss Poets in here. Just send me another email and tell me that you're Miss Poet or something like that so I can put two and two together. I do have a few questions. By any chance, were you the one who asked me about the M.2 drives? Here's a person who has an M.2. It's a Western Digital Blue 500. A Western Digital Blue 500 gigabytes? So a half terabyte. Are you sure that's an NVMe? Okay, doesn't matter. Do I need to, it didn't come with a heat sink. No, actually most drives don't need heat sinks. As long as there's any amount of halfway decent airflow going along the bottom of the motherboard, you're fine. Most of them come with pretty little heat sinks. Got one here. This is double-sided sticky tape. And so this is on a motherboard I built recently. I just didn't even bother putting it on there. It's been running fine for a couple of weeks. Okay, I'm just reading here, guys. Okay, I don't think this is that person, but I'm going to go ahead and try to answer this one as well, okay? Here's a person who's in their 40s. I told them to subscribe to this channel. They are overwhelmed. There's a lot of videos out there, and I'm just kind of lost where to start. Okay, fine. You want to start with an A+. The CompTIA A+, for somebody who doesn't know where they're going to, is going to be the best thing to do. Especially this person's mentioning Novell certifications along Microsoft Certs. So you probably, there's a lot of people who sell training material for the CompTIA A+ exam. I am one of many. I sell videos, books, and practice questions, which I think are the 3 things you need. So we go ahead and we purchase those. You can purchase those from me. You can purchase from my competitors. I'm not the cheapest, but I'm about the cheapest. I'm certainly the cheapest of the good ones. So that is where one would begin. I wouldn't even be thinking about Network Plus or Security Plus at this point in the game. Get A+ certified. Get that done. And while we're at it, are you working? Do I have a study plan for people? I don't have a study plan for anybody. Here's the plan. You usually go, A+, Net Plus, Security Plus in the introductory world. You don't have to do any of these certs. If you want to, just go try to get entry-level jobs. There's plenty of them out there. I know lots of successful techs who have no certifications whatsoever. In fact, they're the ones who are always like, certifications stink. I know far more people who have a few certifications and do real well with it than the opposite, but that would be a good start. So, but in terms of a study plan, everybody's different. If you were all exactly like me, then I could easily whip up a study plan. But in general, you grab 3 resources: a book, videos, and practice questions, okay? And then, like if you were to pick mine are all in chapter order against my book, so you can watch a video for chapter 2 and then read the book in chapter 2 and then do practice questions in chapter 2. So you do them chapter by chapter. Maybe you're the kind of person who likes to read before you do a video, then read first. Maybe you're the kind of person who likes to do a video and then likes to read. Well, then do the video first. Maybe you're the kind of person who just wants to do some practice questions, and if you got it covered, you're just going to jump to the next chapter. Go for it. All of these are legitimate ways to do it. For me to try to nail it down for you personally at that level, you'd have to live with me for 2 weeks. I'd have to understand your weaknesses. I'd have to understand your study habits. And that's why I don't make plans like that. The plan is the order that I am teaching in either my books or my videos, and then the practice questions are by chapter, so it doesn't matter. So that's the plan. If you grab any of my books, at the beginning of my books, I put these big tables in there to help you figure how many hours you're going to have to study. Those types of things. But I will not give somebody a half study plan without having some really great ideas about who you are as a person. What kind of resources do you have? Are you a kinesthetic? Are you a visual person? Are you auditory? Now, so it's hard for me to answer a question like that. So if you are this person who asked this question, then please, please, please respond back and we'll keep talking. The important thing is that you're here and we're having a conversation. That's the important thing. That's the important thing. Where you're going to screw up the worst is if you disappear on me, because Mike didn't give me the answer just the way I wanted it. So. Sorry, I'm getting lots of inputs here, kids. Oh, I do have some exciting news on the personal standpoint. I'm getting the COVID vaccine tomorrow. Yay! So at least I got that going for me. So I can make it 45 more days and man, I won't get COVID. I'm excited about that. Justin, SK004, which one is that? Oh, Server Plus. Yeah, this is dated, unfortunately. Does look like Server Plus is up and running. Yeah, I think, okay, well, the real answer when it comes to Server Plus is I just don't even look at that certification, which I think says tons right there. Jane Slayer, did you hear Fry's will be shutting down nationwide? Yeah. Fry's. We had 2 Fry's locations here in Houston, and yeah, I mean, I knew it was coming. Anybody who'd been to Fry's in the last 2 years could see that they were reducing inventories and all that. But it is sad. I mean, at least here in Houston we have Micro Center, so we still have the computer store that's completely filled with hard drives and resistors and all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, Fry's is going. Sayonara Fry's. My favorite Fry's. Well, we had one in Houston that was down the southern side of Houston, down by NASA, and that was done up like NASA. The one in Vegas, I used to do a lot of classes in Vegas, and I always need a part. And there was a Fry's. It was actually on the Strip, way down south on the Strip, down by the airport, and it was a really cool Fry's because like the balustrades where you park were made out of stacks of chips and stuff. Yeah, I'm going to be sorry to see Fry's go. It was a great set. Great place. Okay, Miss Poet, I am unable to search for emails right now. With over 400 emails a day, I'm sorry, I can't quickly look for it. I apologize. 2:19 p.m., Jimmy Milligan. Hi, Mike. I have set up a server. Okay, like a Windows server or just set up a Linux box and put Apache on it? What'd you do? Trying to remote in from my desktop and it won't do it. It asked me for credentials and a password. I have only one password for the server and it isn't it. Jimmy, what kind of server are you talking about? Did you set up Windows server? See where I'm coming from, Jimmy? I'm not sure what you're asking for me. You have to have a username and a password to get into most anything, whether it's a web server, even web servers. Most web servers have a public function where you don't need to log into them, but web servers even have a username and password requirement. FTP servers, mail servers, yeah. So I'd like to know, Jimmy Milligan, what kind of server are we talking about? All right, Deepak, what cert covers TCP IP in detail? None. Amazon sent me an email trying to sell me a book on TCP, and my God, it's 1,600 pages on TCP IP. Okay. It is good to know TCP IP. Won't argue that point at all. There are no certifications I know of that are TCP IP. I mean, a lot of them cover different aspects of it. Certainly Network Plus covers a lot of aspects of IP addressing, port numbers, different types of protocols. But there is none that covers, as you can tell from one book that's got 1,600 pages on it, TCP IP is a massive topic, and no one needs to know all that stuff. See, again, I want to argue with you some here, Deepak. It's like, okay, don't sweat it. 219, not a D. Bump to the security certificate progression chart 2020. Nada. Hey, Scott or somebody, can someone cut and paste Nada's? She did it kind of with the dots and the slashes. And can we get a link on Teams? Sorry, Nada, I want to look at it, but I'm going to see if Scott or Dave can help me out. Okay. Axe, Mike, from an IT perspective, would you assign new employees for basic laptops, no coding, just for running web applications? Would I assign new employees for basic laptops? Dude, what are you asking me here? From an IT perspective, would you assign new employees for basic laptops? No coding, just for running web applications. Axe, I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're asking me here. Try again. Timothy Lynch Jr. I am using Terminal to change ownership of a file to another user. Okay, so you're probably using chown in Linux is my quick guess. I log into the other username and I still can't edit the document. Do they have to be in the same group? No. Okay, I don't know who they is, Timothy. If you want to access a document, you have to have permissions to that document. Just because you change ownership to the document, remember you still have a group and a user assignments in your chmod. So as long as it fits any one of those three criteria, you can get in, whether you change the owner or not. Again, man, Timothy, I would need a lot of details here. William Jeske, 2:22 p.m. Regarding legacy peripherals, the PS2 plug was retired 10 years ago, but the ports still appeared on motherboards. Are there any connections or components that you believe are overdue for retirement? Well, William, first of all, I'm going to tell you, I think the PS2s are important. PS2 ports were supposed to be replaced with USB, right? But what they discovered in the gaming world is that mouse and keyboard PS2 components had very little latency compared to USB ones. And that's the main reason you saw PS2 ports come back was for gamers. There's tons of ports that have been retired and you're not going to see them again. I think we finally have gotten rid of VGA. What else? FireWire is gone. Parallel ports. There's plenty of stuff that's gone. The PS2 came back because there was a need for it that people hadn't anticipated, and that's why it came back. Are there any connectors or components you believe are overdue for retirement? No. So what is not a D's little security? I'm looking at Nada's little chart here. I don't know. I got a different vision than this, Nada. I'm not saying this is wrong at all. I don't know where it came from or anything like that. I'm not saying it's bad. But to put things like Security Plus, AWS CP, and A Plus all on the same line, why would someone do that? It would tell me that they don't know the certifications. Even the ISC squared stuff seems to be out of order. I'm sorry, I don't like that particular chart. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying I'm not a fan. Yeah, I'll get my second dose. Thank you, Jane, thinking about me. Jane Slayer. Jane says, Justin, it seems a bit more confusing following a path of certifications, especially since Microsoft got rid of their concentrated MCP and fragmented it into a million different fields. Justin, they change this stuff every 3 years, one way or another. For years with Microsoft, you had your MCSE and your 7 exams, and then it was your 5 exams. Then you wanted to get into specialty, and it was 10 exams. So, this stuff changes all the time. To me, if you're going to have certifications, they should be able to match the progression of where a technician is and where they're going. So to me, what's the challenge here? It's a bit more confusing following a path. Okay, well, first of all, Justin, remember there's no law here, so you can do whatever you want. I can give you my opinion as to what the pathway would be. And a pathway of certifications makes sense if you're growing from one certification to the next. I think that pursuit of certifications is something that all technicians should be doing at all times. I think it has nothing to do other than but understanding where you're at in terms of your career. I think they're very important. Mike, I've seen one of the fries in Vegas, but it wasn't near. It was the only one I know. It was one way down south of the Strip, down by, now what's the airport there in Vegas? Forgot the name of the airport. Keep wanting to say Logan. That's Boston. Asan Habib. Hi, Mike. Which platform is best to get your complete video lecture for A+? They're all pretty much the same. I would go with either Linda or Udemy, probably be the two biggest customers of mine. They both do a great job. But it's not, you got to remember, I'm sorry I got to tell you to buy stuff, but just watching my video series is great. And whether you pick from lynda.com, LinkedIn, or Udemy, or whoever, there's about 7 or 8 other folks, that doesn't matter to me. What does matter to me is that you purchase practice questions. You got to purchase practice questions. It's really important. That's really the tool that you use to measure your skill set, are practice questions. No Starch Press, never heard of them. Scott Jernigan, do we have an opinion on No Starch Press? Let me take a look. No Starch Press. Well, the fact that I don't write anything for them tells me something right there. I've seen their books around. But I'm not super familiar with them. And on top of that, they don't really do certification. They're more of a... They look to fulfill something different than what I want to do. Jimmy Milligan. I have been given a physical server for practice on, and I've installed Windows Server 2019. But as I only have one monitor, I would like to be able to remote from my desktop for practice. Okay, Jimmy, that's easy enough to do. You're going to have to set up a, you got to set up a policy. I don't have it in front of me, but you're going to have to create not only do you have to have an account on the server, and when you say the server, so you got to be careful here, Jimmy. Have you upgraded the server? Is it now a domain controller? If you have, then you need to set up a domain account. If you have not upgraded it to a domain controller, it's just another Windows machine, just happens to be a server, then as long as you have an account on that server that you can log in with remotely, then you can get to it that way as well. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. Let's say that you actually have set up the server to be a domain controller. That being the case, you have to go into whatever user that you want to be able to remote towards, and there's a setting called Allow Remote Access. I don't remember exactly where it is, but it's within the user proprietaries itself, and you have to make sure that's checked. If you have done that, then you can just run good old remote desktop from any client within the LAN, and you absolutely can get to the server in that fashion. And that's the way we do it. It's rarely a good reason to walk over to a Windows server that's got a keyboard and a monitor on it. Most of the time, you're just RDP'd into it. Quora. Andre, good old Andre, 2:32 p.m. Found this question on Quora Digest. Well, you found it on Quora, right alone tells us something. Is 64 gigabyte of RAM really worth it? They say it's a waste of money. They. You guys and your pronouns. I don't know who they is. Almost all of my computers run on 32, if not 64 gigabytes of RAM. If you're running a robust server of any kind, you're probably going to want 64 gigabits or more. If you're running a virtual machine server, you absolutely want 64 gigabytes or more. I can't tell you whether it's good or bad. I need to see what you're doing with the machine. And then I can give you some input. Miss Poet. Okay, Mike, how does one get past security boot failed if you can't get into the BIOS on an Acer Swift 1 laptop? I'm not super familiar. I've done plenty of Acers. In general, if I think that I've got something that's preventing me to get into my system, I'm going to do a CMOS clear, and I'm going to clear the CMOS and wipe out any passwords or whatever might be in there. Acer Swift 1 laptop. So I'm pulling up a browser, Acer Swift 1 laptop, clear CMOS, is going to buy that. There you go. So I did a quick search here, and didn't look that hard. Let me get all this out of the way. And I came over to the Acer website. Here, let me show you what I found. One moment, please, kids. All right, so just did a quick little search here for a BIOS password reset and with the usual warnings, but it seems to be just a matter of finding a little jumper and clearing it. There you go. It even shows you where to unplug the CMOS battery. So right there. That's how you do it. McCarran Airport. Thank you, Jane Slayer. X. Sorry, I wanted to know what PCs you would assign to employees if you had a choice. Are there certain brands of laptop that give you nothing but trouble? No, I do tend to go towards Dells. I've had good success with Dells. I find in general, Dell is comfortable working at the enterprise environment. It's easier for them to configure and spin up a bunch of systems the way I like it. When I buy laptops, I tend to buy them, in the 20s and 30s at a time. And I've just had good luck with Dell. I've done it with HP a little bit, but mainly Dell. I'm a Dell guy. So it's more a matter of, are there certain brands of laptops that give you nothing but trouble? I cannot answer that. What I can answer, there are certain brands of laptops that do not give me trouble, and those tend to be Dell and HPs. Kali Linux here, absolutely. Oh yeah, Nada, no, first of all, Nada, thank you for sharing that chart. That was wonderful. Just because it doesn't speak to me doesn't make it a bad chart. Mark Wheeler, 237. He loves my stuff. Thank you, Mark. Dennis, what tool would you recommend as to clone software for backup for home users? Oof. Good, God bless it. I forgot the name of it. It's the one that even Microsoft is suggesting you use. I'm going to have to look it up. Starts with an M. Mercurium, yeah, something like that. Scott Jernigan, Dave Rush, help me. Ah. I'm going to find this. First of all, if you notice, I don't do backups like this. I don't do backups at all. I will back up critical files. Oh, this is driving me crazy. Super popular, and it's free. But it does a more Macrium Reflect. Here, let me bring this up for you guys so you can see what I'm looking at. Macrium Reflect. So this Macrium Reflect has a free edition that works really well, and even Microsoft advertises this now that they don't have a true backup of the old-fashioned, and the free version works really, really nice. So that would be my suggestion. Macrium. But but then again, for me, the funny part is, did you notice I had to look that up because I don't back up? I don't back up. I back up my data, personal data, mainly by putting that type of stuff on the clouds. But my system itself, if it died, I'd rebuild the system. I have, some system backups and things like that, but I would rebuild the system from scratch because it makes me nervous when things. If my system suddenly went blank, that would make me nervous. Do I have a hard drive problem? Do I have electricity issues that are causing surges? You see where I'm coming from? So a lot of times for me, as long as I have backups of my data, my Word documents, and my PowerPoints and stuff like that, I'm usually fine. I don't back up. Sam David. Hey, Sam David. I've seen you before. From Ireland. Justin, have you ever watched Mr. Robot? Yes. It's very good. I have watched it. I enjoy it. The young guy who played from Queen, can never remember the name of that actor. He was also in The Pacific. It's a very good show. If you are running a lot of VMs, you may need more memory. That's absolutely true, David. Oh, did Spewy show up? I didn't even see her. Yeah, Spewy's very confused that she doesn't have any roommates anymore, so she'll be hollering for him. Hollering. Oh, come on, Andre. I got to tease you a little bit about Quora. Hey, listen, so while we're talking about things, guys, number one, I first wanted to say that if you like this, remember the thing is here, it's for you to ask questions and for me to answer. Number one, please like and subscribe here on the Total Seminars channel. It's extremely helpful if you guys do that. Number two, we offer amazing discounts. This week's discount is 50% off all CompTIA Total Tester practice exams and Total Tester bundles. So we sell our performance-based questions separate from the multiple choice. It just works out that way. And so we say a bundle, that is the multiple choice questions and the performance-based all bundled together. And you can get those at www.totalsem.com. So all you got to do is head over to www.totalsem.com, head over to the merchant area, fill your shopping cart full of fat loot, and before you type in your credit card, just type in the code URI 2021 at checkout, and you get 50% off of our practice question. Remember I told you, there are 3 things everybody has to have to pass certifications. One of those is practice questions. Not only do we have the cheapest practice questions, for anybody who shows up on here, you get them for 50% off. These are ridiculous. You definitely want to take advantage of those more than anything else. All right. Cool. Also do keep in mind that I'm on Mondays and Wednesdays from 2 to 4 o'clock Central Standard Time. However, my buddy Dave Rush, he does the Dave Rush AMA, DRAMA drama. Dave concentrates on using the Raspberry Pi to learn technical topics. So what's important is that Dave Rush's Friday courses, while they are Raspberry Pi centric, are not necessarily just to learn a Raspberry Pi. What Dave does very cleverly is that he uses the Raspberry Pi as an alternative to expensive computers to do things like, I don't know, setting up a DNS server and little things like that. And Dave does a great job with that. And I can't recommend Dave Rush enough. Right here on the Total Seminars channel every Friday, 2 o'clock, same time as mine. Same bad time, same bad channel. This poet, funny, I did that and nothing worked. See, here's the other problem is, guys, I get a little confused because I forget. We got 4 or 5. Okay, Miss Poet, if you turned off the battery on your Acer laptop and it didn't work, then you and I have a different problem. I'll tell you what, Miss Poet, do me a favor. We have a Discord channel. Okay, I don't have a Discord channel. My buddy Jose Braden has whipped up a Discord channel called the Unofficial Mike Meyers Channel. And what we're going to do is I want Miss Poet, watch the chat. Scott Jernigan is going to put a link for our Discord channel. And I need you to show up there. Particularly, I'd prefer you do it with a microphone and a camera, but at least have a microphone and headset so we can talk. And then we'll have other folks in there. So it's always a good group to work together and to answer these questions. So there is no way that you can reset the CMOS on an Acer laptop and not be able to get into CMOS. So the fact that that didn't work for you tells me that we're not communicating properly and that the live chat is rarely a good place for technical repairs. But do come on to the Discord channel. I'll be on for a short time today, and we can talk about it. And you can sit there and go, well, this screen came up, Mike, then it said that. And I'll be like, ow, well, you never said that. Okay, well, then do this and this. We also have a lot of really good techs. I'm not alone here. Guys like Tolowit and Andre are good crackerjack techs in and of themselves, and certainly have good opinions too. So it's always nice to have a group. Please, please, please join us on the Discord today. Especially, it's a slower day today. Oh, I still got to talk about, still got to do NBR versus GPT. That's a quick one, so that won't take very long today. Elbow, hey Elbow. So Dave can teach me how to shut my pie hole. Yes, he can. I'm not even going to touch that. We're just going to get in trouble. Mark Wheeler, I was waiting for that deal. Are you able to buy the PBQs separate? Yes, that's the only way to do it. We call those bundles. You can buy them separately, or with the proper question, we call those bundles. 74 new waiver at 250. Oopsie. Can you recommend a tool to recover an external hard drive that is showing up as unallocated? Unallocated. So you're trying to bring up a external hard drive in Windows and it's coming up as unallocated. That's not good. I would be very, very tempted if this was happening to me on this external drive. I would be firing up a Linux system. And in the Linux system, I would be running a program called gparted. G as in George, parted. It's really a partitioning software, but it's also very good at looking at and analyzing the contents of drives. And you know, the number one reason that drives come up as unallocated is because they're unallocated. So when people just start handing me a drive and say it's unallocated, I start having to ask them questions. At least if it's unallocated, Microsoft recognizes there's a drive there. It just doesn't see any data. So usually what I'm going to do is on a Linux machine running gparted, I'm going to be running ext2, ext3. I'm going to be looking at the drive through gparted. And gparted has a pretty graphical interface, folks. It's not like unlike a lot of Linux tools that you run at a command line and it can be confusing. Gparted is graphic and pretty. You might find yourself having a drive that you didn't know was there. It's just maybe not readable in Windows. So, and the other thing to remember is that check disk chkdsk/f is a very, very powerful tool, and nobody uses it enough. See, and then 74 new waiver. Then I had one ask you other questions. It's showing up as unallocated. Was it showing up as allocated before? Did it suddenly stop being allocated? You know, that kind of stuff. Looking for questions. Okay, so where'd it go? Naweed Hydra, what was the discount code one more time? The discount code. Oh, you mean the discount code this week for discounted practice questions? I'll leave that for Scott Jernigan to put up there one more time. Do keep in mind, Naweed, you can scroll up too, you know, it's either way. Tom Lynch Jr., 254. We're about to start talking about MBR and GPT. It won't take long. I have a first-gen i7 desktop I built 10 years ago. It has 8 gig of RAM. Should I bother replacing the RAM with 16, or is it time to build a new machine? Or just get a Mac Mini with the M1 chip? Tim Lynch, I don't know what you want to do. First-gen i7s, which means you're probably going to have issues with USB 3.1, 3.2, or whatever you want to call it. That was a bit of a problem. Why do you want to? You have 8 gig? Why do you want to add more? Is this a browsing machine, Tim Lynch? Is it a gaming box? But then you really make the world easier. For just pure joy of technology, getting a Mac Mini with the M1 is a very, very attractive option. Somebody sent me an email. Scott Jernigan just put Recover, for backup. I wish I knew where it was. I have somebody who I don't know, or I think I do know now that I'm seeing the name. And this person has mentioned a tool called Ultra Virus Killer, which this person says should be named I Fix and Update Everything For You. This will make your cool tools list. I will check it out. I mean, on the recommendation alone. But I will check that out. I don't think it would actually do any backups. No. But thank you for the recommendation. I am going to check this thing out and see what it does. There's lots of little toys in it. One more time. This thing is called, where'd it go? Ultra Virus Killer, but it does a lot more than antivirus. That's for sure. I'm going to be playing with it. I'll give people opinions. Remy Malik. That's it, William. Thank you for reminding me. Remy Malik played Elliot and Mr. Robot. Kevin Lopez. Can employers look at your credit score? Generally, yes. Here in the United States. All right, I'll tell you what, guys. Let's go ahead and dive into MBR versus GPT. It's only going to take about 10 minutes. It's pretty straightforward, and then we'll see how the questions go from there. All right, let's do this. PowerPoint. Okay, so I assume that we all understand and know and love the idea that our hard drives, this is actually rotational media, but SSDs would be the same thing. These things store terabytes of data, and we need the data to be organized in such a way that we can put it on there and take it back off. We can locate it, we can do directory searches, file naming structures, stuff like that. And so to do that, we have to organize our hard drives in a partitioning methodology, which for decades was called the master boot record, which then moved on today, and it has been throughout the last 10 years, something called GUID partition tables, or GPT. So before we do anything, let's talk about the old days and how we used to store data on hard drives. So back in the old days, what we would have on every hard drive, and you notice there's a little curve here because this is actually a physical spinning hard drive, okay? And the master boot record, or MBR boot sector, was the very first sector of every drive. Today, your hard drive is nothing but gazillions of sectors, right? And back in the old days, these were 512 bytes each, although today they're more usually 4,096 bytes. And that is the minimum storage space that there is for hard drives. So in order to make a drive bootable, be able to have storable data, things like that, we'd have to go through a partitioning process. The old partitioning process, what I'm teaching right now, is called MBR, or Master Boot Record. This has been dead for about 10 years, although there's still probably listings about it from here and there. So this blue thing we're looking at is exactly 512 bytes, that entire thing. So at the very beginning of this, we have what's called the bootloader, or the bootstrap loader, or the boot code, or there's a bunch of different names for this. And this is about, remember, this whole thing is about 512 bytes. This is about 480 bytes right here. So if I was going to draw this to scale, everything from here over would be squished way over. So the bootloader, the bootstrap loader, whatever you want to call it, this only has one job, and that is pick a partition and boot to it. So in the boot sector, the biggest chunk of this is a bootloader, but then you have four little sections. Sorry, you have four little sections which are called partition tables. A partition table, or let's rephrase that, a partition is nothing more than an electronic organization of a physical drive. So if you have one physical hard drive, and let's stick with a Windows environment for starters, that one physical drive is going to be either, sorry, incoming messages that I'm missing. That physical drive has to be mapped into an electronic drive, and that electronic drive is are normally what we call partitions. So you can take that entire hard drive, and if the drive's not too big, you can take that entire drive and turn it into one big C drive. But you don't have to. You can make it half C and half D. You can make it 1/3 C and 1/3 D and 1/3 E. You can make it 1/4 C, 1/2 D, 1/8 E. They don't have to be the same size. But the problem is when these were first invented, even hard drives didn't even really exist. So they organized it in such a way that there'd be space for up to 4 partitions. So you see these? Again, these are tiny little spaces. And really all that's in here is an LBA beginning and LBA end for how big this storage area is, this partition for the drive. And the other thing is you got room for 4 different partitions, because the idea, they thought you'd be booting Windows in one and Linux in another when these were eventually invented. And that never really happened. So with MBR, most of the time you only had one partition configured. That was going to be like, say, your C drive. And it worked. The problem, well, there was a bunch of problems with Master Boot Record. Let's go through what the downside was to these things. There's your partition tables. Okay. Number one, it was ancient. It actually was designed to run on and support one of the last of the 16-bit programs in any computer, which was your old school BIOS. You could have no more than 4 partitions. Now, Windows got around this a little bit because you could only have 4 partitions, but they could create one type of special partition called a extended partition. An extended partition was only one partition, but you could put logical drives inside the extended partition. So it was a weird way to get around the 4 partition limit, but it did work. And you had a space problem. It was limited to 2 to the 32nd power logical block addresses. The addressing scheme is called LBA. Every single sector is an LBA, starts with LBA 0 and goes till they're all done, which limited you up to partitions of maximum of 2 terabytes for 512 byte sectors. Which, you know, as long as drives were less than 2 terabytes, it was no big deal. But a few years ago, it became a big deal. Okay. And the fourth big thing, master boot records aren't robust. There's no backups. I mean, if you're going to have a bootstrap loader in there, wouldn't you want to have a backup copy in case the needle drops and it gets corrupted? Or wouldn't you want to have extra copies of your partition tables and things like that? And with master boot record, there was no backup. There was nothing robust about it. So starting around, I guess, argue 2005, but it really wasn't until 2010, about 10 years ago, when everything kicked in, an alternative to MBR was developed, which was called the GUID partition table. A GUID partition table, better known as GPT, first of all, it uses the entire drive. In the previous example, I told you this was all stored on the first sector, LBA 0. This one's going to be a lot bigger. So to organize this, here's the entire drive, okay? I mean, I'm talking every spec. So I'm going to put a little cutter in the middle. And at the very beginning at LBA 0, where we used to have the usual MBR stuff, we have what's called a protective MBR. The protective MBR just does one thing. If for some reason I take that drive and I plug it into another system and that system's not capable of handling GPT, it will boot up on that system and it will read that protective MBR like it's an old school MBR. And it basically will keep it from making errors. Again, the chances of you running into an MBR system these days is pretty small. Whew, sorry, let's get back to that PowerPoint. Now here I'm being yawny again. I need that coffee. Okay. So LBA 0 is the protective MBR, and it basically looks like an MBR. Anybody else, anything that's GPT capable, will automatically go to the next LBA, the next sector, and this is called the GPT header. So the one at the front here is called the primary GPT header. This is your bootstrap loader, folks, okay? It just has a different name with GPT. So there's one at the beginning called the primary, but there's a secondary at the back. And if that first header gets corrupted, you have another copy to go after. Now the thing is how do I get that other copy? How do I know there's a problem? Well, most of the time you don't. Most of the time what happens is you have operating systems that know all about this. Windows and Linux are the two great examples, and they will automatically fix themselves. Sometimes you get an error like no boot device present, and you'll just go ahead and get your installation media from Windows, run off the installation media, you go repair my computer, bonk. And one of the many, many things it does is it takes a backup copy of your GPT header and puts it to the front. It's one of about 400 things that it does when you say repair my computer. It does it for you automatically. Nice, right? Okay, so we have 2 copies of the GPT header. Next, starting with LBA 2, and this actually runs all the way to LBA 34. So that takes a lot of LBAs, is the partition table. And then there's a backup partition table back here. Now, I just showed you with MBR, everything fits into just one little tiny sector, right? Back with MBR. Now with this GPT, we're going into all these other sectors. This is a lot bigger than the MBR one. Okay, well, that's because, number one, you have backup copies, and the other thing that you have is you have built into, the reason it's called a GUID partition table is because it has a GUID And someone's going to ask me what GUID stands for, and I can never remember. Globally unique identifiers. So what happens is that all the different types of partitions that you can have, each gets its own special GUID. So a GUID is a big, long, complicated number, and it is a unique number. And what's nice is that it gives us a lot more definition about what a particular device does. So for example, showing all of Scott Jernigan's private text here. All right, so this comes from Wikipedia. So you can see, so you can see all these different partition types here. And then here are the corresponding GUIDs that go with all of these different types. Back in the old days, you didn't have this kind of granularity. So it gives you a lot of detail, and a lot of that's being stored in the partition table. So notice over here, folks, these are stored at the end of the hard drive. This could be a 4 terabyte hard drive, and this is absolutely the last LBA and the last LBA -1, so they're physically very, very separated on every drive. So the nice things about a GUI partition table, number one, they've been around since 2010. You can have up to 128 partitions on them. I don't know if you'd ever need that many, but by golly, you can. You can have up to 2 to the 64 LBAs, but that would limit us to 64 zettabyte partitions, which is like a billion. It's huge, a billion gigabytes, a gigabyte of gigabytes. So it's massive. And it's very robust, mainly because we have backup copies, and as long as you have software that'll take advantage of that, GUID partition tables are much better than the old MBRs. The nice part is today, if you install an operating system, it will be installed GPT. In particular, if you have a UEFI bias, I don't care what operating system you have, it will install and configure that drive to be GPT, all out of the box. Nothing you have to do. And it is a good thing, and we are happy. The old style is dead, Jim. The old master boot record is over. Today we live in a much happier world. I'm going to take a look at something real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm not quite sure what would happen here. Okay, take a look at this. All right, so what I did here is I fired up disk management. It's a pretty standard system here. Man, I wish it would quit doing that. Ka-chunk. And here in disk management, you can see if I right click on here, it's frustrating me. I'm going to make this one work. If I right click, there you go. You see it says convert to MBR disk. I can't, it's grayed out because in order for me to convert a GPT to an MBR, I have to wipe the drive completely, then convert it back to an MBR. In general, with Windows and with Linux, if you have an old school MBR drive, you can just go ahead and convert it. I would again use gparted in a Linux scenario. In Windows, I'd be using disk management. Just right click on it and say, convert to GPT, and kronk, up it goes. That's about it. They're good things. Without GPT, we would not have nearly as good of a recovery when you just hit repair my computer and they magically fix themselves because they know about backup copies of bootstrap loaders and things like that. You wouldn't be able to handle partitions bigger than 2 terabytes. So even if you had like a 3 terabyte drive, you'd have to break it up into a 2 terabyte and a 1 terabyte. You have to make it a C and a D. So GPT is wonderful for partitioning. It really is very much designed to be in a world with UEFI. And for 99.99% of us, we don't even see it anymore. 10 years ago it was an issue, and I guess there's still some questions hanging on. But now it's just GPT. Life is easy. Yay! All right. Kevin Lopez, I sneezed in his ear. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. 3:59 p.m. Raj Yang. Hello, sir. How long would you say is recommended to complete Network Plus and security? How long? I don't. I usually measure it in hours. Usually it's about 220 hours for somebody to do A+, usually about half of that to do Network Plus. Now the question is how many hours do you intend to study? If you intend to study 1 hour a month, it might take you a while. So it really is just a matter of how long you study. But it is a quiet day. Why is everybody so quiet today? Sneezing in people. Yeah, I'm very sneezy. I didn't drink my coffee yet this morning. You fool. All right, I'm looking for questions, guys. Da, 3:16 p.m. Lino Delacour. Is there any chance for a quick description of PAT versus NAT? Sure, we can do that. You have to be very, very careful about NAT on particularly the CompTIA A+ and Network Plus because CompTIA gets very confused on a few things. For example, when we talk about classic NAT, the classic everybody shares one address, okay? I'm assuming you know what NAT is. I don't want to do a whole NAT thing right now, but Lino, I'm going to try to answer your question. Hopefully we got it there. NAT, here, I'll make it easy. NAT is an umbrella term for a bunch of different ways you can switch people's IP addresses out. For example, SNAT or static NAT. In that case, you have 3 public IP addresses and you have 3 computers that are behind a router. So those 3 public IP addresses are only used by the router to get to the individual machine. Get the idea? And those are static. They never change. PAT traditionally stands for port address translation, where you would actually change a port number so that it would get to a particular device. However, in most nomenclature, what we talk about as port address translation is actually IP address translation, which there is no pretty letters for. So for me, when I see PAT, it just means NAT. It's that simple. Patricia Grace, this laptop from 2015 uses MBR. Yeah, a lot of times when you upgraded like an older version of Windows 10, an older version of Windows to Windows 10, it would keep it as MBR. There's a bunch of reasons. Tim Lynch Jr., my C drive isn't disk 0. I must have screwed something up when I was playing around with disk part. Yeah, Tim, there's no panic that drive C isn't disk 0. It's not going to hurt a thing. So usually what's going to happen if I see that you have a disk 0 ahead of that, and again, you got to keep in mind a lot of times that disk 0, well, let's bring it back up. So you're saying like your disk 0 isn't the C drive. So let's take a look at this. All right, so number one, first of all, don't worry about things like this. This is your UEFI information, and on the back here is a recovery partition. These guys traditionally don't get drive letters. You don't want them to have a drive letter. Now, if you got something in front of that, what's probably happened, more often than not, you have like a disk 0 and then all your bootable stuff. What's probably happened is Windows there were 2 drives in the system when you installed Windows, and it saw all this stuff on the other drive, so it doesn't want to mess with it. So it'll sit there and go, I'm going to put this first because I want to boot to Windows, but I'll make it disk 1. So that's very common. There's nothing wrong with having those out of order. Several at the end, right? Scott Jernigan is using strange nomenclature trying to talk to me. I'm not sure what several at the end means. Sorry, Scott. Let's see what else we got going here. What are we doing on time? 3:20. Yeah. Tim Lynch Jr. What is the reason you would switch DNS servers? I want my DNS server to be faster, might be one reason. I'd like mine to be more private, might be a reason. I'm using a Raspberry Pi hole and I want to redirect everything to that DNS server. There's lots of reasons to switch a DNS server. Elbow, coffee keeps me from sneezing? No, coffee keeps me from yawning. Elbow, had to use diskpart to delete a 450 megabyte partition from my drives. Most of the time when I see somebody reduced to using things like diskpart or something like that is because you're trying to delete a partition that Windows doesn't recognize easily and natively. You could take a nice Windows 10 partitioned up drive and then hand it to like a Windows 7 system. It won't recognize a lot of that drive simply because it's a later version of Windows. And most of the time you end up using diskpart. You can use diskpart to wipe out Linux partitions, all kinds of stuff like that. Again, I'll use gparted in Linux, usually to wipe drives. Kevin Lopez, Pearson VUE allows me to schedule the Net Security Plus 501 past July 31st. Really? That's an interesting thing to bring up there, Kevin. They're usually pretty good about shutting that stuff down. I'm curious why they would do that. My C drive is disk 2 because of using Macrium Reflect to move over to a new SSD at some point. Never had issues. Yeah, I mean, there's always another drive involved when you see that kind of stuff. All right, guys, it looks like it's quieting down, so I'll tell you what. Let's have a quick little competition and we'll wrap it up. Anybody want to compete? We're going to be giving away access to practice questions today. Get some questions lined up. I don't want to do A+ again. Let's do. Haven't done any Network Plus questions in quite a while. All right, get ready, guys. So here's how these questions work. You ready? Number one, these aren't fair. So if you feel like you're being robbed, sorry, there's only like 50 of us in here. It's a great deal. So I'm going to show you guys a question from my test banks, and you guys answer it, and whoever puts the answer into the chat window first wins. So let's go ahead and give this a try. If you think it's butter, but it's not. Are you guys ready? Here we go. So you cannot just type in the letter A, B, C, or D. You actually have to type in the answer where I can at least read it. So okay, so I've got one of the answers checked. It may be the right answer. It may be the wrong answer. You guys ready? Here we go. The first person to write the right answer in into the live chat wins access to A+, Net+, or Security Plus questions. So here we go. What is an MSA? Remember, don't type in just the letter of the alphabet. I need you to type in one of those 4 answers. Kevin, you just can't type in a letter. You got to type in the answer. William Jeske, I cannot appraise brain bench. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. Sorry. All right, we got a bunch of people. All right, so the right answer is Master Service Agreement. So who typed it in fast? Dot matrix. Andre. Andre, do you want to keep the prize or not, buddy? So I got Andre DeGoyard as the winner. Talk to me, Andre. Do you want the prize or not, brother? All right, well, we're going to give it to you. Andre, congratulations to you, sir. You are the winner of today's competition. And the right answer is Master Service Agreement. In order to get your prize, all you got to do is send an email to kathyy@totalsem.com. Scott Jernigan will type that all right into the chat window. And I got in trouble from Kathy last time. Hold on a minute. All right, so you need to give Kathy, you need to give her your screen name. You have to give her your name and what the prize is and which cert they want. So to me, it would be the prize and which cert they want is the same, but whatever. All right. So you got to put in those 3 things. Number 1, in that email to kathyy@totalsem.com. Number 1, you have to put in your screen name. Number 2, give us your name. And number 3, what the prize is and which cert you want. Basically, I want the Security Plus practice questions. Andre, not only did your answer show up, Andre, you won. You're the winner. Nah, Andre, it's too slow. I don't want to go through all that. Andre, you are the winner, man. Yeah, guys, it's too much of a hassle. I'm going to do another one, and if my buddy Andre keeps playing, he's going to keep winning. Let's do it one more. Here we go, guys. Trying to come up with a question that I hate that question. Too easy. Too easy. Trying to find one that's challenging enough. Oh, this is a tricky question. You guys ready? Here we go. Whoops, wrong thing. Don't look there. Here we go. What 2 encryption applications, I don't like the word application. I would have said something more like a cipher suite, but we're going to leave that as. What 2 encryption applications work together to make a fully secure website? Select 2. Pretty sure to make a fully secure website. Yep, I got him. So I need 2. Come on, folks. Keep in mind, just because someone else has put in the answer, it doesn't mean I see them in that order. I can't tell you how many times people have typed in something and it ended up being a lot longer before I noticed it, and you were the winner. Okay, so who won this time? All right, today I say the winner is my buddy Patricia Grace. Congratulations, Patricia Grace. You have won. It is HTTPS and SSL. Absolutely right. Those 2 have to work together for secure websites. That was the clue. And Patricia, congratulations to you. In order to claim your prize, all you have to do is send an email to kathyy at total7.com, kathyy at total7.com. And remember, in that email, Patricia, remember, put in your screen name here on YouTube, and then what your real name is, and then what the prize is. You won the practice questions, and you want Security Plus. Ta-da! And so you're the winners. Congratulations to you, Patricia Grace. All right, guys. It looks like, we got one more in here. 3:29 p.m. Azizul Mock Squad. I'm sorry I mess up names so badly. I apologize. Hey, my greetings. Hey, man. Welcome aboard. Good to see you. All right. Let's go ahead and, it looks like things are quieted down. Remember, guys, the function of this AMA is to ask Mike anything. I am here to help you with your questions. So what I'm going to do, it's going to take me about 15, maybe 20 minutes tops. I've got 3:30 right now, but I will jump up on that Discord channel. Please remember, like or subscribe. It's very much appreciated here at the Total Seminars channel. Remember, my buddy Dave Rush has got Dave Rush AMA, DRAMA. He's got drama right here on Fridays at 2 o'clock. Other than that, this is your Uncle Mike. I'm going to be letting you go, and I will talk to you guys on Monday, unless I see you on Discord. Scott, can you throw up that Discord link one more time for new folks in particular? And let's just take a look at that Discord link. Fantastic. Guys, that's all I got for today. We'll see you all Friday with Dave Rush, or you'll see me next Monday. So until then, this is your little Uncle Mikey saying good night. Good night.